let's wrap up the PTSD Liberation Workshop. Feedback, comments, thoughts, reflections, experiences, all of that good stuff. And
my first thought is I look forward to the next one.
well, that's good. That's always good.
Yeah.
So, can we talk about like our whole stories?
Like what has been difficult and why you think this might be able to help you, and we all just want to learn from the different experiences we've had.
Yeah, like, and other people too.
Absolutely, in the future we hopefully can make many more of these and mold them after people's needs and desires.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will go first. All right, so most people don't know that I have PTSD because I don't really tell them, but I lived my whole life like just fine, happy, normal. And then I went to go teach in the Middle East, and when I was there, pretty much I was accused of murder. The security guard in our building killed one of the teachers, and then, whole long story, but he came up with this crazy story that me and my friends paid him to do it, and then that I actually killed her, so they believed him because it was in a Muslim country, so they put me and my friends in prison for 3 days and questioned us and all this stuff, and then finally he kept changing his story, so we all got out, but I was stuck there for another month because they had a travel ban on us, so I couldn't leave. While I was there, like, it was just a whirlwind. I don't even know what happened, but I gained a ton of weight. I was like 200 pounds, and I'm normally like lighter than I am now. So, and it was over the course of like a month. So after that happened, I told my mom, like, as soon as I got home, I'm like, I'm gonna need therapy because I know myself, and like, I just knew I would need it. So then I got back to Florida, and then insurance problems. I couldn't get insurance until November or October last year when I started teaching again, and that helped a lot. Before I was in therapy, like this whole span of days, which is actually like occurring right now, I'd just be at home, like I couldn't get up, like I was crying all day, like he was like, go to work, go here, and I'm like, I can't, like it's like involuntary, like you just wake up and you're like, you feel like there's like 10,000 pounds on you, like you can't smile, you can't do anything. And then like little triggers, like things you wouldn't expect. Like our first time in Hawaii, we went to the commissary on base, and there was this popcorn. It was the Jolly Time popcorn, and it's like the only like the popcorn we had in Qatar, and it was like the first like object, like physical object I've seen that was just from there, and like I just felt like hot, and like I was like having a panic attack in the middle of the commissary, and I'm like, what is this? But like you just can't control it, and like these reactions. And then I started going to therapy, and we did like autogenics and breathing things, and that helped a lot. Like I didn't have to take off work anymore for those 3 days. And then since then, it's been 2 years now, but like little things, it's like your fuse is like this short. It's like things that make you upset, you're like, why am I so upset about this? Like your heart just starts beating. Like when I'm driving, if there's traffic, like I've never had road rage before, but like I'll just sit there and like dig my fingers into the steering wheel because I'm just so mad. Or like if we argue or something, like it just like gets blown out of proportion because I'm just so like more emotional. And then and then it like takes so much energy out of you. I'm always like this. So like just this weekend, like I've been able to like just relax. So I knew coming into this that it would work, it would help, because I've done a little bit of therapy, which is the same kind of premise, I guess, with breathing. So just being here this weekend helped a lot. So I'm excited to keep doing it. And actually one of the main questions I had was like, how do you, like if we keep doing this, like meditating and like on a regular basis, it'll probably help us. But like, for example, when we were downstairs at the pool, I was doing one of the breathing, like that one. And I just overheard the people sitting right next to us, like that, like the one that in the black shirt. And I was just listening, and I heard them say like, oh, I wonder what they're here for. And the girl's like, I overheard them saying something about repressed childhood memories, and I don't know, but they're filming it, and it's not necessary. And like my heart just started like, and I'm like, oh my God. And like just something like that. But I was doing the breathing, and I just continued to do the breathing, and like I calmed down like a lot quicker. But just like little things like that, like what can we do like in the heat of the moment, like when something like that bothers us?
Absolutely, that's for all things in life, I guess. I mean, we have these negative comments and nagging.
But it's like the fuse thing I'm talking about. It was like people hear that and they're like, oh, whatever. And then, like, we had an incident with the tables, and we got the tables downstairs, and it's just, like, little things like that, like, just set us off because we have such, like, we're just so sensitive to it. Like, what can we do, like, in that moment where it's, like, something made us upset, and, like, we're getting all, like, heated, because it's, like, this feeling, like, you wouldn't believe. It's just, like, and when it's over, you're, like, what just happened? There's, like, so much going on in your body and your mind, and it's just, like, hot, and your heart starts beating. Like, what's something good we can do in that heat of the moment?
Take a deep breath.
Yeah, well, a lot of the breathing exercises we've done, but also the way you think, so you don't get yourself caught in the negative things and the stories that you make. Because, like, for example, this lady, I didn't overhear any of that. I just heard the talk about, oh, I think I can hold my breath for maximum like 15 seconds. That's amazing, like when we're in the pool. But sometimes you also hear parts of a story or think you hear something, but it's maybe not what they mean or what they say. So it's also about storytelling again, like what stories do you tell yourself, or are they pointing fingers at me? Are they, you know what I mean? Like, it's so you can just try to not think the worst of things you hear, or maybe just say, oh, they probably don't understand, or they don't know what the whole context is about, or something like this. Yeah.
And then for anyone else who has PTSD, like out there or wherever, it's not something to be like ashamed of, because it's like you live your whole life like normal, and then something just happens that turns your whole world upside down, and you just have to deal with it and just move on and have really good family and friends and him and everyone, and it's just, why do like these 3 days just like stick out, and like you just have to move on. And I found that in free diving and like
Yeah.
and like with free diving, it's just like so peaceful and like it's just so nice. And I think this will help me to like really expand my skills, so I can just like delve in that more. And yeah, so like it's not something to be ashamed of to tell someone, because like you didn't ask for anything to happen to you.
No, absolutely
But
not.
you just have to deal with it and like just move on. It's hard, but it's possible. I think I've come far, like a long way so far. So yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you. That's good. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's good. Awesome, sure.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Okay, so I'll go next. So this weekend was amazing. Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
That was amazing. And I appreciate everything you've put together for us and all the help you've given us. You know, I know there's some people that are skeptical of it. You know, well, she'll be the first, but I guess I'll be the second to say that these tools that you've given us will definitely help. They've helped in just 2 days, or the 3 days. I can only imagine as because we're both definitely going to do it every single day. I can't wait to see what the future holds, you know, and how much better this can get. Because right now I'm already like set back, like holy crap, this is just these things, these tools that you've given us so far are just amazing, and you can almost see immediate results. Some, you know, for some exercise, immediate results, and some you will have to practice, you know, especially if you're not already a free diver or a breath holder or whatever. So, you know, I applaud you for that. That's some great tools, and I can't wait to read your book. It's going to be a treat. But a little bit about my PTSD and why I got diagnosed with PTSD. So I was in the military, medically discharged, and what ended up happening was I got deployed twice, once to Iraq, once to Afghanistan. I don't want to say the typical, but basically when you hear of combat PTSD, it's you know, you've seen combat and wartime stuff, and that's true. But there's other things that go along with it. My main things were I was involved in 7 IEDs, so that's roadside bombs, and you know, I had some friends die, and my vehicle directly was hit 3 out of the 7, and the other remaining IEDs were either the truck right in front of me, where I had to watch my buddies either be on fire or whatever, and or behind me, right? So there was an incident where one of my buddies, we were doing a run, and he ended up actually dying during the run. And ended up that he had a malfunctioning heart valve. Nobody could have known about, but because I was the only one with the medical training and experience and stuff, they called me back and like basically spent the last moments of his life, you know, trying to help him out and doing CPR, and he was already gone. And it's funny because even when I teach CPR, I'm a CPR instructor and first aid and all that, you know, yeah, CPR itself it's not magic. It's not going to bring somebody back like boom, right? However, we actually revived this guy, and that's actually rare, but we revived him, and he came back, and with like his last like breath, basically breathology. Yeah, it all full circle here for me. His last breath, he was just like, he said my name, and then just was just gone, right? And you know, just the whole thinking about it and everything, it took me so long to get over that because, you know, I tried and I tried and I tried, but, hold on. So I came to my senses and I was like, you know, I've done everything I could do, and it took me 3 years to call his mom and like talk to her on the phone, and she was like told me that it wasn't her or my fault. She's like, look, you did everything you can, and I know, you know, he wanted to be with his brothers before he died, you know, of course. And that's pretty much when I thought I was over it, but, you know, it's always in there, and it's, you know, that's not the worst part of the PTSD, but that's the most personal hit one, because when you're trying to save someone, and then you do save them, and then they end up, you know, passing after that, it's like, well, holy crap, I had the power, I brought him back, but it wasn't good enough. And sometimes that's how it happens. So anyway, I just basically kind of try to get over that. And for the most part, I'm over it because I had the closure from his mom and all that. But it really does still suck. But hey, you know, whatever. He's in a better place, especially with all these yahoos on Facebook and all this and the news and the media, right? You got to bring light to it, you know? So, you know, all my buddies and stuff and the IEDs and me and my personal injuries and all of that, that's okay. That's easy to deal with because, you know, I'm tough and my buddies were tough. And yeah, some of them are now missing legs or half of their backs. A really good friend. And even some of our interpreters that, you know, it's not common to have like interpreters as friends, but, you know, when you have a good interpreter, even if, you know, they're the enemy or whatever, you know, however you see it, you know, they're still in the end, hey, they were right there with you. They got injured by the same enemy. So, and in that sense, you know, they're your comrade. So stuff like that. And we were all tough, so we all made it through that. But, you know, just doing like breathing exercises, it just, holy crap. Like, just like the stress just like leaves you, and it's good because it calms you down, and that's why I got into freediving, and that's why I know about you and who you are and things that you do, and it's just amazing that you're doing this for veterans and PTSD liberation and anybody that needs any kind of like anxiety, depression, whatever, anything to just the term, dude, just breathe. Just breathe. Right? So, breathology. There it is. So,
Thanks.
hopefully this will definitely help me. Thanks.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah. You want to share some of your stories or some of your insights that have been already so valuable? Maybe not personal details if you don't
I'm not going to
not
go into
comfortable.
I'm not going to go into personal details.
No, you don't
I mean,
have to.
other than, you know, some people are a little more sensitive to what other people say. Like downstairs, some passive aggressive, and that had a bit of an incident this morning, and had somebody said one more thing downstairs at breakfast with that guy, or the dad that started to stand up, if they wouldn't have sat him back down.
Oh yeah.
I didn't hear any of that breakfast. I was
Yeah.
maybe gone at that
Yeah,
time.
you
or?
weren't there
Getting
yet. Yeah,
tables
we were trying to
together.
get tables, and the one guy was being kind of a jerk because he had kind of gone and got the tables, and then it was just kind of some
We got
posturing
there
back
at the
and
same
forth.
time, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but also they knew where we were going. We stopped at the bar and to ask some questions, but regardless, it was a little bit tense, and the one guy started to stand up. And in my head, I knew if he made it beyond a chair, there was going to be an issue for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like she said, it's a short fuse sometimes, and learning to control that, and learning to get yourself. And it took me a while sitting at that table for the adrenaline to drop, and for me to get myself composed back again. And there's still some lingering from it, a little bit of, I don't know, I guess falling off that back side of it. There's still some edge there from it, some irritation. So for me, having the tools is great. You gave me some insight on the tools that I've already had, and a little bit of change on them so I can mix up some of the tools I have. I have new tools to use. For me, the challenge is going to be to use those tools. Of all the things that I've discovered from depression, suicidal thoughts, and everything else, is support. That's huge. And having people that aren't going to turn their back on you when the time gets tough, or they get tired of it because they don't need to deal with it anymore, that reinforces for everybody that suffers when you have somebody that you think is supporting you, and all of a sudden they can't deal with it anymore and they leave. And now you feel that you are a bad person again. That's tough. And I'm very thankful for Kevin, actually. He's been a great friend. Somebody I didn't expect to be as good a friend as he is. There's some personality rubs sometimes, but what he's done for me moving to Hawaii and helping me, and kind of some of the things I haven't really liked, but pushing me past certain situations to keep me going when I was going to give up, is huge. And having somebody that supports you, that's probably the hardest thing that any therapy can't give. You give great tools, and maybe that it's not just the person who has PTSD, but it's their buddy, it's their partner, it's their person that's there with them, needs to be there for a lot of this stuff too. So they understand the breathing, so they understand what they can do to help them, so they can hear the stories that are shared and understand what's going on and what might be in their head, and help them get out of it. Because I know for me, in those moments that I've not known if tomorrow was going to be there, you're very isolated and you're very alone. And through all of it, knowing that my daughter and my parents are still there on the other side and they still love me, that's huge. And again, having Kevin there at times and him kicking me before I get into it has been a huge help. I don't know if he knows he's doing it. I don't know. Sometimes I think he does. Sometimes I think it just happens. But yeah, finding a friend is huge in this whole fight.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to be there.
Great. Yeah. You know what else I'd like to talk about? That I forgot to mention. You sparked a light. The cloud that PTSD can almost put in your brain, basically. And that's one of the main reasons I really wanted to get your help, is because I started freediving only 6 months ago. I do it more as fun, and I do a little spearing, and I do a little competitive stuff, and I'm just dipping my toes into it, basically. Just doing that. Because I've had PTSD explained many different ways, and research it and all this, I know that there is a dampening effect, and how your brain goes into overdrive, and kind of it's working even when you don't know it's working, because it's repressing thoughts that you don't want to come up, right? And it can be exhausting, and you're like, always tired, and I'm always tired, or I'm either I'm usually just really tired and I always want to stay in bed, but then also sometimes you can't get to sleep because then these thoughts that your brain is just so tired of blocking all of a sudden are like, knock knock, hey, here I am, and you're like, dude, bad timing. And then it kind of makes
Can't
you
shut your mind off.
yeah, it kind of makes you like explosive sometimes, because you're just like, if you're not putting that on the outside, nobody knows what's going on inside. And I'm not violent or anything. There are those types of PTSD and stuff like that. You hear the typical combat, like hit the ground and all that, and I'm gonna low crawl across the room, and yeah, that's a thing. But mine is like purely repressed thoughts, because things will remind me. But I don't know, call it that I have a powerful brain or whatever, or it's just really good at maybe blocking things or clouding things out. But it's almost like it. Once in a while, like dust will blow across the dusty road the just the right way, with the sun just the right way, and it's like, boom, I'm back in, Iraq or Afghanistan. Now, do I freak out or something? Nah, because it's not. Luckily, it's not associated with anything like terrifying. Just that little dust rolling across the street or whatever. But some other things will remind me of those incidents, like, oh, that looks exactly like the street that this happened on, or that looks just like the truck that, we carried my buddy in doing CPR or whatever, right? I never really knew how to deal with that, so my brain would just say, no, don't matter, block it out, and it would do that. And I think I actually described that to you when I typed to you into the program, that I needed a tool to unlock this. So going back to the freediving thing, when I got into freediving just like 6 months ago, somehow, I was telling Chelsea, I was like, hey, this is really weird, because I'm starting to remember things that I know, like I can manually go into my brain and know that it's blocked. Like I can't close my eyes and remember things from childhood. I can't remember like my first car, or I can remember what it was. I remember nothing about it. It's just because my brain is just like, oh, everything from the point that this happened or whatever, because I have multiple incidences, which really suck, but from like whatever point and before that, it's like your brain just is like, just start over from here, man. And that's pretty much how I've been living my life. So when I moved to Hawaii, it was like starting over. And little things will still remind me, but it's just like, nope, just shut that out, leave everything that was from this moment behind. And childhood memories, like, who doesn't want to remember those? I do, and I can't. So, that was the best part of getting into this program. Like, when we were doing the breathing exercise the very first day, I was like, holy crap. I picture myself playing with the Hot Wheels, and I can picture which ones were my favorite, and I used to like crash them and stuff, because my parents were firefighters and paramedics and stuff. So I would always be like, I would beat one with a hammer and make it wrecked, right? Like they got in a car accident over there, and woo 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 woo, and I always loved like the ambulance and the fire trucks and the police cars, woo 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 woo, and they would show up on scene, and just from listening to my parents' scanner, like, oh, I knew all the lingos, 10-4, and we got a 1050 PI, which is a accident with personal injuries, right? And here I am like 5 doing this, right? So it's, I reflected on that later that night, and I was just like happy, like almost like peaceful, like, wow, that was almost like a closure, because of like, that's it, like, this is the path that I need to keep going. And it all started with breath holding my breath for freediving. Never thought that I was just magically, well, not magically, but one day just gonna be able to like brush away the cloud in my brain and be like, oh, there's my childhood. Meanwhile, as this weekend's progressed, every time we've been holding a breath or meditating or whatever it may be, breathing, I've tried to remember something else. I've now been able, since this is the last evening, I've been able to remember, like, I was a kicker on my team in high school, and I can't remember that now. And I can remember like the field out back. Now I'm crying because it's happy, right? And then I can remember the car, and like I used to play in it and think I was so cool and like rewire stuff and make it. It was like a really crappy car, but I would try to make it awesome. And you know, I could remember playing. We lived in North Carolina at the time, and I would play in the cornfields and with my brother and like build a treehouse and stuff. And I can like now I can see that clearly. I like the nails and the colors and the types of wood we used and how we got up the tree. You know, we had to nail our ladder on the tree to get up there. That was cool. And yeah, so it's like happy. It's cool. And so yeah, thanks again. It's great to be able to remember things that I want to.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's super-
So I look forward to keep going and,
Yeah.
and remembering like all of it. Hopefully, you
Yeah.
know, there all the good stuff, and that's good because this whole weekend, all I've been able to remember is awesome stuff, good stuff from my childhood, no bad stuff, and the bad stuff it's kind of like just staying down that pit, and that's where it belongs, and all the good stuff is like now climbed out of the pit. Well, most of the good stuff, and hopefully I'll just progress, and then all the rest of it will come out, and it'll be all on top, and I can remember it clearly, and yeah, keep going. It's awesome. Yeah, so woo,
Absolutely.
technology. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's great.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, it's really happy, and yeah, it works. Yeah, you can't deny it. I'm at least one person. There's two people that it
Yes.
works, and it's working, right? So that's three people right there. First clinic, right? Boom.
Yeah, I'm just very happy to hear all this.
And then you guys as well. You know, you're coming too. You got that. So
We're just gonna call you Mr. Grace from here on out.
Yeah. Yes. Right? Because
Yeah.
it works. You can't deny it.
One interesting thing about PTSD is that it's similar in ways to things like being afraid of heights, for example. There are irrational fears sometimes. You know, somebody with the fear of heights couldn't stand out there on a ledge and look down. They just go into a swirl and they grab onto the rail. They probably would never go out there, period. But because they know those situations, they provoke that irrational response where your blood pressure goes up and heart rate goes up and all of that stuff. You go into a panic mode, panic attack. Same thing happens with PTSD, except you don't know what's gonna trigger it. And it's one of those, like you were saying, the sun is just right, the dust in the road is just right, and it just, all of a sudden it hits you. Even though you no longer go into that survival mode, it's still somewhere inside it registers. So that's a very very good point. And even though PTSD is not in that way like various anxieties and panic attacks, it can be helped in that very same way by breathing.
Mhm.
It's something so basic that can regulate so many things. I'm in awe of how much breath can do, and I'm happy to be here to learn so much more. Before I was just breathing, now I'm breathing. I feel like I can finally count my life in breaths like the Indians do. That I like so much more, because I could breathe once every minute or so, I think. That would make my life a lot longer. That would be really nice. So it's a very cool thing to be able to improve your breathing, because we don't hardly ever think about it. Well, now we do.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Stig, I got thinking about a very touching and moving telling, and I won't get into it because it's not mine, but the other part of it that was very inspirational, and I think this is a great takeaway for you guys, having tools to work in conjunction with it. It was, if you don't like your story, and we all have stories, and you know, there are stories. Divorce that story and marry a new one. Find a story you love. The other thing I was thinking about was just simply, you know, we're talking about 30 trillion cells, 30,000 breaths in a day, you know, all kinds of things that we've canvassed and talked about. But if you can cognitively, you know, modify your or work with your behavior can look to, that we're really resonating with in this moment right now. Instead of 30,000 breaths in a day, if you're diving, you're going to spend maybe an hour. Meditation wouldn't have to be an hour. And I think the more time you spend with the story you love, and the more time with, cognitive or conscious, what's the other phrase? Mindfulness?
Yeah, mindfulness, you can say.
So, and then I start, thinking along the lines of things that are interesting to me, genomic expression, swaying and influence the way your genes express themselves, and, diet, but if you have good air, if you have good food, if you have good water, and most of us are fortunate or blessed enough to live somewhere where we can choose to access that, or won't have, at least it's available. And then feelings, emotions, ideas, thoughts, bring those in, bring them in, and also give them out. Law of attraction, all of those things, and accept those blessings and the power that comes with them. So I really appreciate being here.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for being here, and again for trusting me. That it wasn't a scam, or
No, I still don't trust you. I'm waiting to catch you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was gonna rip you all off. And no, that wasn't the point. That wasn't the point. So it's been a very interesting weekend, also for me. Always, I love teaching, learning. It's always a life process. It's getting inspired and getting feedback and helping and seeing that there is actually some help in the tools I can provide people. And I know they work for certain things in my life and for other people, but you have to make them your own in your life. But I still know they work for different things, like calming the nervous system and all this brain stuff. Like people go, oh, but is it proven, or do you know? Or I don't need that much proof. That's also why when I work in rehabilitation, even though I have a PhD in medicine, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an MD, so I don't have to wait for the FDA or to wait for some research program to, in 12 years they're going to come with a cure or say maybe this works. No, I don't have the time, and maybe more importantly, my clients don't have that time. If you are whatever, challenge in life or illness, severe illness, you don't have 12 years or 6 years or 6 months to either wait to start or even to live, depending on what illness you have. So that's why I just like to do it my way and just kind of get on with it, not sit on my hands and just, oh, maybe, and be ruled by fear, basically, which it is. Insecurity and fear. Like when I got this idea and put this PTSD liberation workshop together, I read that article, and it was just horrible to read. Young guy, 24 years old, gunner, Iraq, his life completely turned upside down and then put on 20 medications a day. That was just nasty reading. That was just horrible. So I just swore at that time, when I have, the possibility and the money and the capacity and the time, because I am a very busy guy, crazy busy guy, which is not always a blessing, but that's just my life right now. But I knew that I wanted to do this. So it was also very important for me that it became reality. That it was not just a fantasy, fantasy, but just a plan. I call them projects. I always have a lot of projects, whether it's a world record or a film program or a clinic now with the PTSD liberation workshop. I have so many projects, and I knew that it was important that this one became a reality. Because from all this what we have and gathered information, we can work from here. And it can help other people. And everybody's online today, and more people are getting online, even in countries with less developed cities and internet and so on. Still more and more people getting online all the time. So to put this out there and make it available online to people and putting a few tools out there, some exercises, it's just it feels good. It feels good that I can help provide that, and then we all together can help other people. Because what's more important than helping other people, especially in difficult times? So yeah. I don't know what shape and form this program is going to take. I don't know what's going to go online. I don't have it all figured out, and I don't really worry too much about that. It's just going to grow organically. It's just going to grow. There's no other way. It cannot not grow. So, like we saw on this Facebook page with 6,000 comments, like in a split second, right? And
Yeah.
now I saw it put on, I was on Google Alert, so I saw it was put on something called New Military or something, News Military, like another blog, and that's of course going to spread like a, fire in a hot desert, I was going to say. So it's really catching on now.
Yeah,
It's really gaining momentum. A little bit too late maybe, but better late than never.
Yeah.
So it's a beginning, and we're on the forefront, and it's not rocket science. What we do, it's simple, but it has to be put in a program. Like many people sometimes make jokes when they see my breathology, or they see the book, or, oh yeah, it's just breathing, or, oh, yogis have done that for thousands of years. Oh, you take money for teaching people breathing. And I'm like, those comments are, first of all, of course, a bit offensive and dumb. But then again, everything's free in life, Diet is free. You can buy whatever food you want, but people pay thousands of dollars to get the right diet, and especially athletes. Or training is free. Everybody can do push-ups. You can do as many as you want. Yet everyone I know, basically in my life, pays to go to a gym, to have the right tools, to have a personal trainer to tell you how to train. So this is what many people don't get. Like, okay, so breathing is also free. Yes, it's free. But what's your program? What's your schedule? How do you breathe? What exercises do you use? And people go, well. So the point is there needs to be a plan. Kind of like you said, how to implement those tools and what framework are you going to put them into. I know it's a little bit different what you're talking about, like the self-motivation to do it, but it's also knowing, first of all, before you have the motivation, what should you do? Like if you don't have any tools, or people don't know it's going to be 5 minutes, or do I need to do 20 minutes until it works? What if I only do 7 minutes of breath work? Is that going to be enough? Those questions people need to have answers to feel secure and to start. So I'm just trying to build a framework. That's what I did with breathology, which is a step-by-step manual to better breathing and to improve the performance. That's what it is. So this is a new little child that was born, and the PTSD Liberation Workshop is gonna just spread its wings and fly out. And I'm so grateful you've all been a big part of this, and that you trusted me. That's like you say, trust and good friends, support. That's important. Very important. So it's I think maybe the best, like if we should talk about takeaways, we're gonna wrap it up now, but maybe your story, all stories are really moving, but getting your childhood memories back, that's priceless, but maybe even what was like my biggest takeaway from knowing that it works was that you said this morning that you remembered your dream.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And like you haven't been able to remember dreams in years. Nothing.
Yeah.
And so to me, I don't need a scientific statistic analysis, something snobbish, find result and t-test and Kruskal Valleys, analysis. I'm like, well, no. If you tell me that you remember dreams, that you haven't done that in several years, I'm like, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm sure I dream. I'm sure everyone dreams. Literally more, a couple years or more, I've not been able to remember a dream. I just wake up. I'm either stressed when I wake up, or I'm like, I don't want to wake up. I never, not like this morning where I was like, I woke up and I was just like, oh, man, that was a weird dream. And then like I thought about it, and then I like got out of bed. Yeah, I realized it, and that's why I like yelled in the bathroom. I was like, I was like, that's the prana. And and I was like, wow, and I was just really excited. I'm still excited. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, let's end on that, and you all have long travels ahead of you, and we all have to get on with our lives, right?
Right.
Whatever we're gonna do. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you,
for
Stig.
coming.
Yes.
And we'll meet again somehow.